Hello, I'm Roger Sherman. I'm a documentary filmmaker, a founder of Florentine Films, and I'm on the Hamptons Doc Fest advisory board. I'm so pleased to have filmmakers Tamara Kotevska and Jean Dakar. Tamara was the director, Jean is the producer and cinematographer. Tamara, did you do sound as well? Recording
Um,
sound on
yeah,
location?
I'm also the producer. We are both
And a
producers.
producer. So
Yes.
it's a nice tight group. We're talking about the Tale of Silyan, a lovely, sweet, sad film shot in Macedonia. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
But now you're in New York City
That's right.
because of Doc NYC. So tell everybody to go to Doc NYC and and see it again. I wanted to tell you that your film Honeyland about the beekeeper like no other beekeeper was just amazing. And people should know that it received two Academy Award nominations, one for Best Documentary and one for Best Feature, Best Picture representing Macedonia, which is very, very rare for a documentary. So congratulations on that. Um, so tell us how you found this story.
Well, actually, the storks brought us to this story. By following the storks, we got to know the family. This has been a topic that interests me for a long time about the white storks in Macedonia. And I found out through research that more and more white storks in Macedonia are changing their migrational patterns and start eating from the landfills, for especially the wild landfills in Macedonia, and they stop migrating. So we immersed to this journey. I spoke to this animal activist organization who gave us the pin locations for about 100 stork nests. And we immersed on this journey from a nest to a nest with a custom-made little van where we were sleeping and keeping all the equipment and just spending a lot of months. And eventually, by following the storks, we discovered this beautiful family and we kept following the family.
Nicola is, I mean, what an amazing character. I want to adopt him. I mean, it was just fantastic. Um, did you know that you were making a parable? I mean, this film really teaches us something.
Yes, I make a parable between animals and humans in every one of my films, with no exception. That happened in Honeyland as well, with the Atiji and her mother, the queen bee, the worker bee, and so on. So I really love exploring this social context of animals and humans and how they interact and how they affect each other. And that was my first idea about this film, to create
Wow.
a mirror effect between a family of storks and a family of humans, and how they actually very closely live in symbiosis.
Wow. The myth that comes out that's told throughout the film is so moving and so appropriate. Um, how did that become part of the film?
This tale is something that I heard first in life when I was a child from my farming grandparents. And it just stayed with me. And for many in Macedonia, it's one of the most important tales of growing up. And it's been always there, but it never occurred to me to actually use it in the documentary because I'm an environmental documentarist. So it's far away from my field of work, let's say. And it came in the last stages of the process where Nicole actually found a stork. That was about the end of the second year of shoot, and he decided to take care of the stork. When I realized this is not the end of the film, we need to continue now. And by exploring their relationship, eventually it occurred to me that this is the perfect fable I want to use because it actually has a environmental message behind it, even though it's from the 17th century.
Wow. Did you ask that wonderful gentleman who's in the tight-knit group to recite it, or did he just happen to come out with it?
The tale
The tale,
on
yes.
the New Year's, you mean?
Yes.
We were yeah we did ask them to tell us this story because we actually couldn't even find the exact same story because it's varieties of this story. It's a word of mouth story. So it's so interesting how different people have different interpretations. And
Wow.
we asked this guy to tell us to tell the story while the New Year's was happening, which is a very often ritual in Macedonia for this pagan event that old people would tell stories around a fire. So this was one of them.
That it wasn't a narrator, that it was this gentleman and part of the tight-knit group that is revealed at the end of the film. I mean, it gave me goosebumps. It was just wonderful. John, let me ask you about the challenges of shooting this film, and shooting storks. Were you also doing the drone footage?
Yes, I've also operated the drone. There's been a great amount of challenges making this film. We've been shooting for a duration of about 3 years. And obviously, one of the challenges was shooting the wildlife, the white storks, because um, similar to humans, where it's important to gain a trust. With storks, it's even more difficult because you can't really negotiate with them as much as with humans. So you really, really have to gain their trust. And we ended up using the drone because we figured that this is probably going to be one of the better tools to use since birds are flying equals we need to have equipment that can fly as well. The drone itself is quite an intrusive tool. It's quite unnatural. It's make a lot of noise, and we could tell that when we started with a certain amount of nests. The birds were quite unsure what this thing is, and they were quite defensive. So, we spend a great deal of time to gain their trust by, from afar, slowly working ourselves closer and closer, until the moment.
It didn't look like you were using some long telephoto lens. It looked like you were really right on top of them.
I
No, we
mean,
were.
we did use quite a bit of tele as well, but we both knew that the magic is going to happen when we are up close because it's just going
Yes.
to give a completely different feeling, and it's just going to show that a different level of intimacy and trust. And it was specifically the generation of storks that grew up with us being there. So the storks that hatched from their eggs, and we've been present in their lives since day one, where they kind of got accustomed to us and our method of shooting. And those were the ones where we could genuinely fly really close to them, and they kind of wouldn't really be bothered by it. They're just like, okay, here's that alien robot thing flying around us again, but never mind. Um, and um, and yeah, that's really when the magic happened.
Fantastic. Um, Flexibility, the audience should understand that flexibility is often the key to making a good film great. Certainly, you saw the decline of farming coming in the region, and you couldn't have known that Nicola's wife was going to go join their kids in Germany, or that they were going to end up dumping tons of produce, which was heartbreaking, um, and then adopting the injured stork. I mean, that you must have been just pinching yourselves as these new ideas, these new things came, these new um, stars, if you will, of the film. What was that like? As the film just obviously kept on changing and changing and changing, all for the better.
Yeah, well, I work a very particular form of documentary filmmaking, which is, I feel it's dying out, which is observational documentary filmmaking, which takes a lot of flexibility, a lot of time, and obviously collaborators that will be all or nothing, regardless of the financial situation or private situation. It's just all or nothing, which is the case with Jean, with whom we work for fourth film together. We have four films, so it's that kind of commitment that brings to this kind of results. But also, one very important thing about observational documentaries is to be able to predict a lot of things as an author based on a lot of research. I put a lot of emphasis on research. The same like when you would research the animal kind and you start learning their habits, when you can capture particular events with the storks, and this is the only time in the year you can capture it. You can't just, it's not an open book the entire year. Same happens with the humans. I was also doing a lot of research and talking to a lot of agricultural professors and journalists about what's happening and what's happening to understand the problem really. Why? Because we have this event every year where farmers are throwing tons of vegetables, but actually people don't quite understand it, and many of them are even judging it. Why they're throwing the perfectly good products? They can't understand the chain of reactions happening there. So for me, it was very important to do this research before I actually full on immerse with the humans as well, to understand um, when the protests are happening, who's participating, what's happening exactly with the government, why they can't sell the products. And then I did a lot of interviews with many farming families before I choose this particular family to understand what's their background, what's their connections, what's their plans for the future. So for this family, I knew they told me that they will migrate soon. Some of the families already have migrated. Some didn't plan for the moment to migrate. So it was a process of selection, really, to understand which family will give us the most content in a way.
Did you live up there for months at a time? Is it near where you live?
No, it's not very near, not at all, actually. And we were spending a lot of time. Our time with John was, we kind of moved in their world. So our time was devoted between being in the house and living with the family. And when we were shooting the storks, spending a lot of time in our little van and just being in the wilderness and from the dawn to the, from the morning to the night to follow the storks.
Yeah, well, it's a wonderful film, and please everyone tell everyone you've ever known that they have to see it. Congratulations on getting it on Nat Geo. I understand it premieres on November 28th, and then Doc NYC also, which is wonderful. Um, noticed in the credits that Lauren Powell Jobs donated to this, helped fund this film. She's usually a surprise, I think, but I'm not sure. Was that a surprise to you, or did somebody reach out for you? That's wonderful.
We weren't in direct communication with her. Actually, she was a partner of Concordia, who is our very, very dear partner, who is without whom we actually wouldn't have made it with this film.
Fantastic.
So we kind of got stuck after 1 year, trying to fund it and getting down with the resources, and they just came in the right moment as both as financial and creative partners, and she was part of that team.
That's great. Our world, as many businesses, the film world, especially the documentary film world, has shrunk so much and gotten harder and harder to fund and harder to get on the air. So I give you big kudos and big congratulations. Are you working on your next film?
Yes, we are.
Can you tell anything? A little hint?
So in a world very, very far away.
Okay. Well, good luck and thank you both for coming and being part of Hamptons Doc Fest. It's a great film.
Thank you so much, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.